everyone, it's Enjoy English School.
Yo!
Today is June 24th. We're looking at pages 52 and 53 in our magazine. We have our leisure article, One Kickflip to Rule Them All.Yeah,
我们今天讲的主题呢是跟滑板运动有关系，不晓得各位有没有玩滑板的经验呢？那我们今天的主题呢，它的 title 是 One Kickflip。这个字 Kickflip， 我自己觉得很陌生，是因为我自己没有玩滑板。后来我去查了一下，原来就是你看到很多滑板手他们在滑板的时候，他们会把那个整个那个滑板翻一圈。然后在空中这样子，那个叫做脚尖翻板。好 ，to rule them all， 意思就是让大家都觉得哇，帅爆了吧，很厉害吧？所以我们中文翻译叫做疯玩滑板，帅翻全场。
Now the kickflip is actually a very basic trick if you skateboard, and I like the little joke in the title here in English. So one kickflip to rule them all comes from the Lord of the Rings. One ring to rule them all. 那个魔戒。
对。
Now, what's the ring we're talking about? Well, skateboarding will make its debut appearance at the Summer Olympics.
原来如此。
Those are the rings.
原来如此。那个 ring 的话，其实也是那种溜冰场的那种感觉，对不对？好 ，skateboarding will make its debut appearance。Debut 的意思就是指初登场。好，在这里的话 ，at the Summer Olympics， 原来它是即将在夏季的这个奥运呢，要初登场，变成一个运动项目。
All right, let's get ready for paragraph 1. All right, friends, welcome back to Enjoy English School, and we're looking at paragraph 1. It begins, skateboarding has always been classified as a pastime for rebels and outsiders.
好，我们来看第一段的第一句话哈，它第一句话里面有出现几个重要的字汇 ，rebels。好 ，rebels 就是那种比较叛逆的人，好 ，rebels 也可以当作是叛军的意思。rebels 这个字的话要特别小心，它有可能有两种念法。如果当名词使用的时候，我们会把重音放在第一个音节念 rebels。但如果说今天当动词使用的时候，我们会把重音放在第二个音节，会念 rebel。
There we go. I was waiting for that.
Yes， 没有错，这是第一个。所以今天在这边的话，你要特别小心，可能这个 rebels 这个地方是名词，所以我们要注意念在第一音节的地方。And outsiders， 好，所以有可能那种反叛的人啦，或者是那种边缘的人啊，那种边缘人。这些人呢，好 ，skateboarding has always been classified as 好 ，skateboarding 滑板运动一直被归类在是这种比较叛逆的人，或是比较边缘的人会喜欢的这种休闲运动。
Now, classified, just like Anthony said, means it's just like a kind of a thing, right? It just means like it's a kind of pastime for rebels and outsiders. But classified also means something is a very important secret for the government. Usually people can't see it. Something is classified. 句号 That means it's a big secret.
没错，就是又是机要文件，机密的，也可以用这个字，被列为机要文件的形容词。
Now, it's classified as a pastime for rebels and outsiders because people can do tricks, but for a long time there was no place to do your tricks on your skateboard, so you had to do them in parks or on stairway where people want to walk, and this would make people mad and they would call the police.So it became a crime to skateboard in public. So if you were a skateboarder, you usually also could be a criminal.OK，
所以说在这里的话很有趣哦，这跟历史的演进有关哦。以前的话并没有针对这个滑板运动制作任何的那种场地嘛，所以这些想玩滑板运动的人，要么就是在公园，好一边老伯伯在散步的时候，你在旁边过去啊，可恶的年轻人，好很多人会讨厌，或是在那个楼梯间这个地方，大家要走路的时候，你在身边这样子滑下来，所以很多人都会去举报跟。那个警察说，这边有人来滑板了，所以很多时候滑板就像是做坏事，变得像是罪犯一样被画上等号。
That's right. There was no good place to do it, so you had to do it in a public spot, and you became a criminal. So, not cool. Yeah, not fair, I think, honestly.
Yeah.
Let's continue. Likewise, competitive skateboarding events had generally not been considered part of the sporting community.
所以同样的道理 likewise 其实就是用同样的这种逻辑去叙述这个事情的时候，也是可以常用这个字 likewise. Competitive skateboarding events have generally not been considered part of the sporting community， 在这个运动竞技这个领域里面呢，很多人也不会把它归类成说，我们要把滑板运动拉进来当做是一个竞技项目，没人想过这件事。
That's right. We wouldn't say skateboarding is like the NBA or MLB, hockey, something like that. We classified skateboarding as an extreme sport. That's usually what it's called, extreme sport. E-X-T-R-E-M-E, space, S-P-O-R-T-S. So riding your bike down a mountain, maybe skiing when you jump out of a helicopter, or skateboarding really fast downhill. Those are extreme sports. It's a little bit different.
就是极限运动，待会我们会看到 extreme 这个形容词，在后面马上就会看到咯。
Yeah. All right, let's continue. Our next sentence says, but at the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo this summer, this extreme activity will finally be introduced at the biggest arenas in the world. Anthony, the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo? Can you talk to us about this?
Yeah, 没错，因为去年疫情的关系，所以说到后来的话它的 title 还是2020冬奥，但是它在2021年举办，所以在这里的话还是写2020是没有办法的事情，因为那就是一个专有名词了。所以在这边的话就说 But at the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo 一样是2020东京奥运，但是是在今年举办的哦。对 ，this summer 就是今年。
Okay. All right. I thought you were going to say more. Let's look at the word arena. Now, this word arena, we know like we play like soccer or hockey, baseball in arenas or stadiums. And these words are usually the same, but a stadium usually there's no roof. R-O-O-F. No roof. But an arena usually does have a roof. But where does this word arena come from? Well, it's a good story. So, arenas are named after a kind of very fine sand that the Romans would use when they fought and they would kill each other and their blood would fall on the ground. And this sand was very good at absorbing their blood. This sand was called harina.
哦，原来如此，所以我们在后面这句话，他提到这个 arenas 这个字呢，本来是竞技场的意思嘛，对不对？然后老师就告诉我们说，这个字 arena 为什么是竞技场呢？这个是有个故事在后面的。当初在罗马盖这个竞技场的时候，其实 arena 来自拉丁文，它的意思是 harina。harina 是什么呢？是一种沙子，通常是放在这个罗马竞技场里头。如果在里面的角斗士，我戳你一下。然后血喷出来的时候，这个沙子非常擅长，就是把这些血都吸住，所以它的吸收力特别好，所以呢就变成了 arena， 就是现在的竞技场。所以后半句就说 this extreme activity 这样的极限运动呢，这样的活动呢 will finally be introduced at the biggest arenas in the world， 终于能够在全世界最大的这个体育赛事里头，好，这样的一个很大的舞台里面崭露头角了。
Okay, our next paragraph has some really cool history here. Skateboarding first appeared in California in the mid-1950s.
好，所以在这边的话，我们看第二段的第一句话，他就说了，滑板运动最开始的时候 first appeared in California， 是在加州，时间呢 in the mid-1950s， 是在1950年代中期的时候，它出现在加州的。
So it's not more than 70 years old. That means your grandfather and grandmother are like as old as skateboarding.
Yeah, 所以你的爷爷奶奶辈的话，差不多就是跟这个滑板的年纪是一样大的。
That's awesome. At that time, roller skating was very popular, and someone had the idea to remove the wheels from a pair of skates and attach them to a board.
好，所以在当时的时候，1950年代呢，其实很流行的是那种4轮的溜冰鞋。好 ，at that time roller skating， 好 ，roller skate 多半是那种4轮溜冰鞋。以前我也买过一双哦，也不太会溜。那这4轮溜冰鞋当时非常的流行。And some had the idea， 有人突然突发奇想的想到什么呢 ？To remove the wheels from the pair of skates， 他居然想说，哦，我把这个溜冰鞋的这个鞋底的这个轮子拆下来 ，and attach them the wheels to the board， 然后把这个轮子装在这个板子上面，这样子的话就变成滑板了，这样子。
Maybe you know the word cardboard. 纸板, right?
纸板, 对。
So cardboard is the B-O-A-R-D. Usually when we say board, we think it's a flat piece of wood. So be careful. Cardboard is definitely not made of wood.
没错，你在要 board 的时候都想到木板、木头啊 a flat piece of wood。但如果提到 cardboard， 就是指纸板，好，就是那种厚纸板啦、纸箱等等。你可能有听过人家讲到是在外面，有时候你做一个那个人形立牌，那个叫做 cardboard cutout。好，那这种人形立牌就是用纸板做的，而不是用木头做的嘛。
All right, our next sentence says, in this way, a person could imitate, copy the feeling of surfing on land and go for a ride, even if there were no waves.
好，用这种方式 in this way, a person could imitate. Imitate means to copy, 可以去模仿，去感觉，去模仿那种感觉什么呢？ The feeling of surfing on land. 在陆地上头这种就是那种冲浪的感觉 and go for a ride even if there were no waves. 就算没有浪来，你也可以这样滑一波，冲一波。
And in fact, this new activity was called sidewalk surfing. Early skateboarders, they used these new boards just like surfboards. And they didn't even wear shoes because when you went surfing in the water, you would never wear shoes. Your feet would get wet. So don't wear shoes when you skateboard. Of course, today we don't do that, but it's interesting to see that early logic.
Yeah, 没有错。所以在这里的话，以前的话呢，它叫做人行道冲浪哦。所以那个 sidewalk 就是这个人行道的意思。那在人行道冲浪的时候，你在这个板上冲浪，其实也是不穿鞋的。当时的逻辑是这样，就是说，如果你在冲浪的时候，你会在水里面，你不会穿鞋嘛。所以说，今天如果你在陆地上模仿冲浪的感觉的话，你干嘛要穿鞋呢？这跟我们现在去做这个滑板运动的想法是很不一样，还蛮酷的吧
Yeah, let's get ready for paragraph 3. Hey, welcome back to Enjoy English School and our article on one Kickflip. Kickflip to rule them all. We're both saying that. Kickflip.
Yeah.
Here you go. Paragraph 4. The first skateboards were quite dangerous, and there were so many injuries that skateboarding all but disappeared for nearly 20 years.
好，接下来我们看这一段里头，他说了 The first skateboards were quite dangerous. 刚开始的时候，这个滑板呢制造出来的时候，其实还蛮危险的。好 ，and there were so many injuries. 好，有这么多的这种玩滑板受伤的这种事件呢，到什么程度？ That skateboarding all but disappeared for nearly 20 years. 几乎呢，发现玩滑板好危险哦。我记得我好像国小国中的时候，我也看到玩滑板很酷，直到我的朋友有玩滑板，然后好像是摔断腿了，我发现原来这个不是那么好玩的东西，所以就不敢碰。然后它这中间的过程呢，可能消失了20年时间，大家都不敢玩。好，到后来的话就是沉寂了一段时间。
Yeah, you know, I wanted to skateboard when I was a kid, too. I was afraid of falling off my bike. My younger sister learned how to ride a bike much earlier than I did. I think maybe like a whole year before I did. I was maybe 10 years old. I didn't like falling on the ground. And we didn't have a lot of money, so I couldn't buy a helmet and knee pads and stuff. But I had a skateboard when I was a kid, but I was too afraid of falling. And I kind of wish I just learned it. Just like I did a bike. But sure enough, a lot of people fell, and that's because the wheels, they were made of clay. They were really hard, and you could feel all the bumps when you were riding. And if there was a problem, you were falling on the ground. And part of that, too, is because what's called a truck, the axle under the wheels. You take a skateboard and flip it over. Those weren't flexible. They were really hard. And if you hit something, you were going on the ground.
哦，原来如此。所以说以前的这个滑板呢，它本身它后面的 axle 就是它下面那个轴啊，它的这个负责连接这个轮子的那种轴，它本身是硬的，很不稳定。所以说你在撞到东西的时候，基本上它就是会碎掉。好 ，clay 的话就是我们说的那种泥土嘛，可能把它加热烧了之后变硬的，这样子可以去跑。可事实上那样子材质非常的不安全，导致了非常非常多的 injuries， 就是伤害，就是受伤的这种例子。
And thank you for talking about the word injury. Now, injury, just so many people got hurt. 这是比较口语, but injury is a great word. And actually, 这个 it just means no or not. And then the J-U-R looks like it means correct or right in Latin. So the word injury means something is not right. 如果你被伤害了，那有问题。Something is not right. Something is not correct. And we can see this word jur like in Justice League, 那个 DC movie, or
right.
jury, J-U-R-Y. We see this in English a few times.
没错，没有在英文里面的话 J-U-S 的话，这个东西就是跟 right 有关，像 justice
or J-U-R
正义 J-U-R 好，像这种字的话都是跟 right 有关系，所以 injury I-N means not right injury 受伤了当然就不好了。
That's right. Our next sentence says, in the 1970s, the invention of the polyurethane wheel, 我再念一次, polyurethane wheel gave rise to a revolution in the skateboarding world, and the activity began to gain popularity again.
OK， 再来我们看下面这句话了。好了，经过消沉了20年，对不对？1950年嘛，然后很危险，然后到来消沉20年之后，差不多在1970年代的时候 ，in the 1970s, the invention of the polyurethane， 好，这个地方的话有点难念，我放慢。polyurethane wheel， 好，这是这种 PU 的这种材质的这种轮子出来之后呢，gave rise to 就是导致了后面的事情 a revolution in the skateboarding world， 因为这个材质的出现，大大的提升它的安全性，也就呢翻天覆地让它卷土重来了。And the activity began to gain popularity again， 慢慢的这个滑板呢这种活动呢就开始逐渐的人气就回升。
This give rise to revolution grammar is pretty useful. So you have A gives rise to B. A leads to B.
没错，就是 A 导致了 B， 很多时候 give rise to 或者是 lead to, result in, bring about， 有好多的字词搭配，你要注意的是它的介系词是哪一个跟哪一个，要把它学起来。
If you like skateboarding, there are a few movies about this period, the 1970s, when skateboarding started to become popular. I think it's called Dogtown, the Z-Boys. There's some really good movies about this. And the skateboards are super cool at this time. Today, a skateboard is, it's about that big, like about as big as our table here. In the 1970s, they had something called the banana board.
Oh.
And it was called the banana board, number one, because it was super long, much longer than the early skateboards. And the most famous color was a bright yellow, so it looked like a banana. These stronger, more flexible woods were also super long. They made them easier to control, so you didn't fall, you didn't get hurt or get injured. And they were easier to control. They were more fun. The polyurethane wheels also were smoother.
没错，所以在当时的话，其实还有所谓的那个香蕉滑板，对不对？因为它那个比较长，有点像类似我们现在那种长板，有人滑长板的话是
longboard
比较长一点那种板子，然后感觉因为它漆的就是这种黄色比较亮的颜色，所以看起来就远远的一根香蕉游过来那种感觉，所以就变成 banana 那种 skateboard 那种感觉。
By the early 2000s, riding skateboards seemed to be as common as playing baseball among young Americans, and that is super true.
By the early 2000s, 就是到了这个2000年这个年代的时候呢 ，riding skateboards seemed to be as common as 就很常见了。好 ，playing baseball among young Americans， 在这个美国青少年族群里面，好，这样滑板的人啊，就像人家大家在旁边打棒球一样，那么常见。
I graduated high school in the year 2000, and that skateboarding and skateboarding culture, that means music, clothes, events, movies, all of that was a huge thing. There were video games, and skateboarding was like the cool thing to do for some young people. Definitely, this sentence is it's hard to say how popular skateboarding really was. There were some really, really big events that were all about skateboarding. 台湾人喜欢穿那个 Vans 的那个鞋子，对不对？ Those were the skateboarding shoes to wear. It's so funny that my students wear them because in high school, that's the shoe I wore too. So they see me wear Vans, and I'm like, I've been wearing these for 20 years.
你说以前老师20年前也穿过啊。
They're like, oh, this is not cool anymore, Chris.
下次就不穿了。
Take the shoe and throw it out. All right, our next sentence says, the inclusion of skateboarding as an official sport at the Tokyo Olympics marks a new era in the sporting world.
OK， 接下来我们看下面这一段 ，the inclusion。知道这个字 include 对不对？就是包含。那 inclusion 就是 include 的名词形态 of skateboarding as an official sport at the Tokyo Olympics. 好，意思就是 marks a new era in the sporting world. 意思就是说，把这个滑板项目纳入东京奥运的比赛项目这件事情本身 marks a new era。era 的意思就是指这个新的纪元，在滑板的这个历史里面，算是一个很重要的里程碑。
To mark a new era means to start a new time, but 这个真的很正式。This sounds really good to say mark a new era. This is a good phrase to remember. Our next sentence says, there's no doubt that the competition will be entertaining for everyone watching at home.
好，最后这句话说 There's no doubt that， 所以你可以说什么 without doubt, without a doubt 都可以，就是无疑的。怎么样呢？这个 that 后面的子句就是说 The competition， 好，这样的比赛 will be entertaining， 非常非常有娱乐的价值，非常非常有娱乐性 for everyone watching at home， 每个人在家里看的时候，因为我觉得大呼过瘾。
I love watching like skateboarding videos on YouTube. Skateboarding videos, surfing videos, they're so cool.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are super beautiful. If it's like a cold winter day, I'm not joking, I turn on like a surfing video from Hawaii, and I just feel good. I feel super good.
Yeah.
It's kind of hot now though, so I'm like, can we watch like some skiing videos?
没错，太热，带点凉的东西这样子。Yeah.
Let's get ready for vocab review. All right, vocab review. Today, our first word is extreme.
Extreme 就是极限的。
Number 2, roller skating.
Roller skating 就是那种4轮的那种溜冰鞋。
Roller skating gave rise to skateboarding.
Gave rise to 就是导致了后面的另外一件事情。那 skateboarding 就是滑板。
Good. And our next phrase is an injury.
Injury 就是伤害或是受伤了。
And lastly, entertaining.
Entertaining 就是非常有娱乐价值，很有娱乐性的。
Now, today is just day 1 of our 2-day article, so don't miss out tomorrow where we have more about one kickflip to rule them all on Enjoy English School. I am Chris Gorski.
I'm Antony.
We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
第52页，休闲小站，疯玩滑板，帅翻全场。
One kickflip to rule them all. Skateboarding has always been classified as a pastime for rebels and outsiders. Likewise, competitive skateboarding events have generally not been considered part of the sporting community. But at the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo this summer, this extreme activity will finally be introduced at the biggest arenas in the world. Skateboarding first appeared in California in the mid-1950s. At that time, roller skating was very popular, and someone had the idea to remove the wheels from a pair of skates and attach them to a board. In this way, a person could imitate the feeling of surfing on land and go for a ride even if there were no waves. The first skateboards were quite dangerous, and there were so many injuries that skateboarding all but disappeared for nearly 20 years. In the 1970s, the invention of the polyurethane wheel gave rise to a revolution in the skateboarding world, and the activity began to gain popularity again. By the early 2000s, riding skateboards seemed to be as common as playing baseball among young Americans. The inclusion of skateboarding as an official sport at the Tokyo Olympics marks a new era in the sporting world. There's no doubt that the competition will be entertaining for everyone watching at home.